Record. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maria Dismondi, and I am the publisher here at Cardinal Rule Press. And today is a really exciting day because it's what we call launch day. It is the day, oh, I just love seeing your faces. It is the day that we get to celebrate with our authors the release of their book. It is officially in the world. You can see Cindy's book, Three Pockets Full, on the shelf behind me. You can see an upcoming book, What the Bread Says, behind me as well. So Cindy is an author who this is going to actually be her debut picture book. And she'll explain a little bit more about what that means. But I want to introduce her to you. She's written many, many books, and she's celebrating with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Cindy. Boys and girls, if you have any questions you want to ask, the chat is going to be available. You can ask your teacher and your teacher can put it there. So Cindy's going to read the book and then we'll go to question and answer after that. All right, so everyone should be muted. Yep, I will spotlight the speaker, and Cindy, I'm going to put it over to you.
All right. Here it's afternoon. I don't know, it might be early afternoon for some of you if you're over on the West Coast, but I'm Cindy Rodriguez. I live in Connecticut. And as Maria said, this is our launch day for Three Pockets Full. You can see it over here. This little dog has a guayabera on in the background. Is a stuffed dog I've had since I was probably like in the second grade. So he's been with me a long time. And there's a dog in the book. So he's kind of the mascot for the book back there. And I'm actually wearing one as well. The book is dedicated to my dad, and I'll explain a little bit about him and the shirt, but this is actually my dad's shirt. So I borrowed it from him, and you can see there are 4 pockets. There's 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And this is one of his shirts. And I dedicated it to him. And the story sort of came about because anybody who might have relatives who are either Caribbean, like from Puerto Rico, or Mexican, even in some countries in Southeast Asia, places that tend to get really hot, the guayabera tends to be like a go-to shirt for a lot of men. They have women's styles also, but traditionally it's been a man's shirt, or like I would just take a man's shirt and wear it any way I want to. So it doesn't have to be just for boys, but it's a really light fabric. You can wear it, with jeans and be comfortable and casual, or you can actually dress it up. And it is in Mexico sometimes called the Mexican wedding shirt. So they actually even wear them to really formal occasions. Sometimes when our presidents, I know there was a picture of former President Obama when he traveled overseas. I want to say he might have been in like the Philippines, and he was wearing one. So it's a very traditional shirt around the world. But I had never seen a picture book with this particular garment as its center point. I've seen other ones about, cooking specific foods in our culture, or different kinds of things that women might wear or use in the house, but I had never seen one about the shirt. And it just reminds me so much of my dad that I wanted to do something and to dedicate the book to him. So as Maria said, this is my debut picture book, which means it's the first picture book I've written for younger readers. I do have some other books that I've written. If you have older siblings, or if you work with older children, this is called When Reason Breaks. This is a young adult novel, so most appropriate for high schoolers. And then I'm not sure how many of you might be familiar with the Jake Maddox sports series, but I've done some Jake Maddox books. This one's called Gymnastics Payback. I wrote the story for this one, for Volleyball Ace, and for Drill Team Determination. These are all sports-based. They're very skinny. So if you're someone who doesn't love to read, but these are like quicker, high-interest reads. And if you like graphic novels, and this is nonfiction, it's about a real man who went into the South American jungle to search for what he thought would be this like lost city with gold and everything. And eventually he never made it out of that jungle. So this is the story about his adventures. So I like to just write about lots of different things, as you can see, from sports to other things. If there's an opportunity that comes my way, I say, why not, right? But this particular book was definitely from me and from my experiences and from my family. So is that anything else you can think of, Maria, before I start?
No, I think that's wonderful. We're so excited to hear the story and think of questions for you afterwards.
Absolutely. All right. So and if anyone's having trouble seeing or hearing me or anything, let me know. You might hear some dogs barking in the background, but I do have my door closed. All right, so here we go. This is 3 Pockets Full, and the subtitle is tiny here. I'll read it for you. Is called A Story of Love, Family, and Tradition.
Written by the one and only Cindy, right? She's right here. And tell us who the illustrator is, Cindy.
Oh, sure. Yes, you're right. I skip through the front part, but I shouldn't. Illustrated by Guayabera. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Fernandez Corbalan. She is from Spain, and she, I tell you, took the story to a whole nother level with her beautiful illustrations. I absolutely loved them. And here we have, for teachers, we have our before reading, while reading, and after reading questions, which is standard for the Cardinal Rule Press books, which I, as a very recently former teacher, this is my first year not teaching in 21 years, loved that this came as part of the book, because otherwise teachers would have to figure that out themselves. So we did a little of the work for you there. And as you can see, I said this one's dedicated to my dad, and Begonia dedicated it to her family. Okay, so here we go. I'm trying to use the camera as the mirror here. All right, so he says, this is Beto, this is Lupe, and that's his mom. He says, I'm not wearing a guayabera to the wedding. Nope, nunca, not going to happen. I don't even want to go to the wedding. I cough, I sneeze, I wheeze. You're perfectly healthy, Mommy says, after a quick check of my eyes, ears, nose, and throat. When Mommy isn't looking, I low crawl into her room and chuck the shirt onto her bed. A note shoved in one of the pockets says, thanks, but no gracias. I have way cooler shirts. Later that day, the shirt is back on my bed with Mommy's note. This is 100% cotton, perfect for a hot day. You'll be super cool wearing it. Nope, nunca, not gonna happen. The next day, I slide Lupe's front legs into the shirt sleeves, then lob her ball into the living room. I was panting, so Beto loaned me the shirt. It is super cool. I think I'll keep it. If Beto has to go to the wedding, he wants to wear something traditional, like a tuxedo. Love, Lupe. Later, Lupe leaps onto my bed with a new note peeking out of her pocket. The guayabera is a traditional shirt in Latino communities. You know this. It's also called the Mexican wedding shirt, so it's perfect for the occasion. Of course, you must go. Please take it off, Lupe. She hates wearing clothes. The next day, I attacked from the skies. Legend says this shirt was created by a woman who sewed large pockets onto her husband's shirt so he could carry guayabas from the field. This should be our new fruit holder. P.S. My eyes are hot and my head is watering. A super rare condition. Probably can't go to the wedding. Later that day, the shirt is back on my bed. No note, great. Now we're not even talking. I guess this is Mom's way of saying, enough, Beto, basta ya. But it isn't enough. I'm not wearing this shirt. And I'm not going to the wedding. Nope, nunca, not going to happen. I sneak into the basement and search for a place to hide the shirt. When I remove a box top, Poppy's smile greets me. I flip through a stack of pictures I haven't seen before. pictures of Papi and Abuelo and even Bisabuelo. And Mami looks happy. For a long time, she wasn't happy, but now she is again. I miss him, I say to Mami, who has found me. I miss him too, Beto. I always will, says Mami. But you love David now. Yes, but your father will always be a part of this family because he's half of you. Mami's wedding day is here. I wear my super cool guayabera. Mami's ring in one pocket, David's ring in another. The picture of Papi, Abuelo, and Bisabuelo in the third, and that last one is empty, waiting to be filled. And that's the end.
Yay. Thank you so much, Cindy. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Can you tell us about the back matter of the book?
Sure. So a lot of the, what I wanted to do with
Cindy's
this too,
doing a live reading of her new book.
what I wanted to do is to provide some extra information about the history of the shirt. During the course of the story, you do get some, like the legend is that a man who was working in the fields was tired of trying to carry all the fruit. So his wife sewed pockets in there so he could put the fruit in the pockets and then be able to carry more. It also talks about how it is used in various cultures, and there's sort of a debate as to where it actually originated. The Cubans like to claim that, the Mexicans like to claim it. Some people in Thailand and the Philippines say it started there, but it is a shirt that you'll see in different places all over the country. And actually, I want to get the dates right. In Mexico on March 21st, it's been declared Dia de la Guayabera, which is like a holiday, right? The same day that is the beginning of spring. So it's kind of like a way to change over to your nice, cooler shirts. And September 1st, I don't know if we listed September 1st here, but I want to say that in September 1st, is a similar day in Cuba. So the book is coming out on a day that also celebrates the Guayabera. So we have some additional information here, and then you have the information about me and about the illustrator of the back. So that's all the information.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Cindy, as we open up our question and answer period, I do have a question. I noticed, so let me see if I can pin myself next to you. Let's see, we'll put you, okay, hold on. Hi, everyone, Maria here. Okay, there we go. So I ordered a guayabera for our dogs because I just loved that the dog in the story had the shirt on because Beto did not want to wear the shirt. And these were made in Miami from a store down in Miami. And we had them shipped up here. And I just love the different designs that are on them. So do they say anything about the different designs do these represent something?
Yeah, very typically, you can see on this one, they're more like pleats as opposed to designs.
Okay.
But that is also a very typical part of the shirt. And a lot, today, obviously, a lot of them are made probably more by machines, but when they were literally handmade, that was like the icing on the cake for these kinds of shirts, is that you had somebody who was actually like weaving in this special design into the shirt. And I do think, if you look around, you could probably order them in different ways and have different colors. So if you're specifically looking for like a black shirt with, for some reason like white, with the designs. But that's, in addition to the pockets, the design aspect is very much part of the traditional design of the shirt. Sometimes I think as generations change, they change, what's popular. So maybe some of the shirts only have 2 pockets, or they might be a little more like open here, or, a little more sleek, but the traditional way is the 4 with either the pleats or designs going down the front.
Wonderful. Last night with my own family, we had a conversation about the title of the book. The title of the book is 3 Pockets Full. but Beto's shirt has 4 pockets. And
Right.
at the end of the story, he says in one pocket, he's holding
Mommy's ring for the
Yep.
wedding.
And the other pocket is David's ring.
Yep.
And then in the third pocket, tell us what was in the third pocket.
The third pocket has the picture that he found of his father with his grandfather and his great-grandfather.
It's so beautiful. So one of the things that Cindy had mentioned, and we actually have a free printable for classrooms. So we'll make sure that it's attached to the follow-up email tomorrow. But you can ask your students, if you had a guayabera, what would be 3 very important or 4 very important things that you would fill your pockets with? So it's a great thing for the beginning of the school year, especially to get to know your students. So that's one of the things we asked our children. What are 4 things or 3 things that, you know, he's waiting to fill that last pocket? What are 4 things that are really important to you, and what would you put in your own pockets? So Cindy, can you share with us what are 4 things that you would fill your pockets with?
Yeah, and I think I love that activity, especially because for Beto specifically, it revolves around this particular event. So he has to fill the first 2 with the rings because he's the ring bearer, right? But when you use that idea generally, then you can really think about, you know, what's important to you or what sort of defines you as a person and what would be in your pocket to represent that. So for me, because I am such I call myself a word nerd. I love books. I always was a reader. And obviously I do writing now as part of my life. So I think in one pocket, I would have a little notebook with a pen, just in case any thoughts come to me and I want to jot down some ideas. You know, most people would tell you that if you don't write something down, you might forget it. So I would have that in one pocket. I think in the next pocket, I would have a picture that I have actually right now up on my social media, one of my social media sites, that is probably one of the last pictures I have of my entire immediate family. My mom sadly passed away over a year ago. So this particular picture has my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, and then like all of their kids and my husband and my daughter. So like this is the one picture where we were all together. So I would definitely have that in my pocket because family is really, really important to me. And in my third pocket, I probably would have dog treats because I am a huge dog lover and I've always had a dog. And currently we have 2 dogs. We have Ozzy, who's like a little terrier mutt that we rescued from Texas. And then we have Denali, who is a purebred yellow lab. So we call them like Lady and the Tramp because she's like beautiful and elegant and he's like scruffy and scruffy mutt. So because I love them so much, I'd probably have 2 dog treats in my pocket. And then in the last pocket, that's interesting. What would I put in the last pocket? I probably would have like even though we don't use chalk anymore, I would have something to represent my teaching career because like I said, I just started a new job this week. That is my first job outside of teaching in 21 years. And these last 21 years have been so important to me as a person and my ability to work with kids. And I've learned probably as much from my students as they've learned from me. So it's a real transition time for me. And I probably would want to keep something in my pocket to remind me of my teaching years.
Maybe dry erase markers. How about that?
Dry erase, right, because we don't use chalk anymore. So dry erase markers. Perfect.
There we go. Wonderful. So teachers, as a follow-up lesson, you can ask students we'll send out the email tomorrow morning. You can either use the piece of paper or you can do it orally, verbally. What would be 4 things that your students would put in their pockets? Cindy, we have had 2 people ask similar questions, and another really great question came in. So I'm going to ask this one first. Which illustration in the book is your favorite? Could you hold it up and tell us why it's your favorite?
Okay. First of all, I think Lupe the dog is a total scene stealer. And even though I wrote her into the story, the fact that the illustrator put her in a lot of the pictures and her expressions and everything were just hysterical. So I think one of my favorites there, can I pick 2 or is that cheating?
No, you can pick 2. It's your big day. You can pick 2.
Where she has the image of Lupe running into the living room with the shirt on and he's tossing the ball and there's so much going on in this illustration, and I love it that she was able to capture so much. So we have the action here, we have the dog running in, and mommy's confused face, and the note. That's, so there's a lot happening here, and she's so beautifully captured it all. So there's a lot of action happening there, and that's one of the ones where I think Lupe really shines and takes center stage there. And then honestly, when I turned the page at the very end and everything went from, I'm going to do like the transition, this dark sort of spot in the basement. And then when I turned the page and it was so beautiful and light with mommy in her white dress and Beto with his big loving eyes and the white pants to go with the shirt. Like this particular image, even though, and plus because it's the end of the story, but it just was like this burst of light at the end of the story, and really just loved it. I loved how they were all three there, and how they'd all kind of finally come to terms with everything, and could celebrate this day. So that was one of my favorites.
Absolutely, and the book really does celebrate change and new families and blended families, and in the emotions and the feelings that go through change for children and for grown-ups. Another question is, how do you collaborate with illustrators to match your personal meaning for the stories? So in this particular case, Cindy, I believe we had character sketches and we asked for your feedback on those character sketches, correct?
Yes, I think the first step you would ask me, as a writer, when you're creating these things on paper, for me, it's almost like a little movie in my own head. Maybe readers have that experience when they're reading a book, they're creating like what those characters they think look like. So I had a little movie in my head of my characters, and I tried my best to describe what I was thinking when I was writing the piece. But then I believe in giving the illustrator too some leeway. I don't want to hold her too tightly to my image. And so she took that as a starting point and came up with the character sketches, which we had early on. And honestly, I think if I had a huge problem, like, oh, that's not at all how I expected it, I would feel okay to say that. But honestly, I loved them. I thought she did a really great job of interpreting just like some notes that I had given her and creating these characters. And like I said, she did some things herself, like giving Lupe this amazing personality, like all throughout the book, and including David in so many of the scenes, which originally and just in the text, his stepfather to be wasn't necessarily written in there, but she drew him in there. So he's actually a part of the scenes. But kind of keeping a little distance because he knows that this is something that Mami and Beto have to work out. And that was all on the illustrator. I thought it was brilliant that he was physically there in the story. So she had a little leeway there. But yeah, there's a great back and forth. That doesn't always happen, I think, depending on which publisher you work with, but I work with you and you're awesome. And so I think you were also very open to saying, here are the sketches, or here's the colored version, give us some feedback. So it's like a team project. When you think about school, when you're working in school and you have a group project, everybody has to participate or it doesn't really work out in the end, right?
Oh, that's a good way of putting it. Absolutely. Someone else asked if you wrote chapter books. So I think they might have tuned in a little late, but yes, Cindy has written several chapter books. And let's kind of ask the question that several people had asked. What was it that got you into writing? Like, why did you want to start writing these books to share with the world?
Yeah, I think as young as I can think back to, I've always been attracted to storytelling, and I think like my sister was an artist. She was always sketching when she was little. My brother, who currently is an auto mechanic, was always pulling things apart. So I think when we're kids and we're just what our natural like interests are, mine was always about storytelling. I always loved going to the library, even when I couldn't read. I'd like to sit for story time. When I could finally start to read, I would check out a bunch of books. So I always just was gravitated toward words and stories. And then, I just started writing. And then my jobs have always been sort of around words. Like I was a journalist at first, so I was writing articles, and then I became a teacher for English language arts. So we were reading and we were writing. So I've always had jobs that were related to the spoken word or the written word in some way. And then fiction just became an extension of that. And I think it was just a lot of me thinking like, why not? Let me give this a shot. And I'd gone to like some conferences or some book fairs and got some advice and just started practicing, until I was good enough to be able to show it to other people and then start to work my way towards getting published.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but Cindy lives in Connecticut, and we will make sure that we include in our email tomorrow. We'll tell you what is happening because she has a busy month ahead of her, starting a new job, and she has a lot of really fun things happening as far as the book tour goes. She has a few more virtual events, and she's also doing some in-person events in Connecticut. So if you want to, meet her in person, oh, just sneeze. I'm sorry, excuse me. Whoa, there it is live. You can't go back and change that. Sorry, everyone. And I live in Michigan and I'm sitting next to some flowers right now and I just sneezed. So on behalf of our author, Cindy Rodriguez, we just thank you so much for joining us today. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, you can do hard things. You can get words on paper. You can publish a book. You can be a teacher. You can change jobs. Here at Cardinal Rule Press, we are so passionate about reminding children and students that you can do hard things. So keep coming back to us. We have another book coming out next month. So we'd love to see you then with Vanessa Garcia, who's in the room here. And just keep doing great things, ladies and gentlemen. Now, here's what we do during our virtual launches. We want you to unmute yourself, and we're going to end today's program by clapping our hands. So everyone go ahead. I think you should be able to unmute.
Thanks for coming.
I love it. I'm hearing some hooting and hollering in the classrooms. Woohoo! Thank you, everyone.
Can I also mention something real quick, Maria?
Yes.
I made up little stickers that look like this, that if you want some stickers for your students, you can, when you get the email, either email us reply, or if you want to include my email, Maria, okay. I have a bunch of these. They're just little stickers. You can put them on a folder or, on a binder or something like that. If you want a little
great idea,
little gift for coming today.
Oh, that's awesome. We will include that. Thank you so much, Cindy. Have a great day, everyone. Keep doing great things.
Thank you.